edition of the Wiseguy Show right here on YouTube. I, of course, am your host, Albert Lanier. You can hear me on the Writer Report on Mondays on mixlr.com. That's mixlr.com. I do the NFL Hot Topics segment on that show. I, of course, am also the former host of Outside the NFL, um, which is no longer in operation. But if you want to catch the archived editions of the show, all the 2024 season, go to Substack or go to Spotify. In fact, I'd recommend you go to Spotify. So you could check out Outside the NFL on Spotify. That's Spotify. Of course, this is the short form sports show dedicated to the NFL. Of course, I'm not a wise guy, but for all intents and purposes, here on YouTube, I pretend to be one. Anyway, week 4 of the NFL in the books. And as I said, every week, there seems to be a great game every week. Every week, there seems to be a great game with the NFL. And I get tired of saying this, but just seems to be the case. There was a very good game. The NFL went to Ireland for the first time, and of course, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings, and the Steelers managed to eke out a victory. They largely dominated that game against the Vikings, but they managed to eke out a victory against the Vikings in that game. And again, the Steelers have managed to win game after game. They've been really competitive. Even the game they lost against Seattle, they were competitive. I don't think there's been a game yet where they haven't had a chance. They haven't been able to put points on the board. They haven't been able to score. They haven't been able to. They haven't been able to move down the field. In fact, for all the criticism leveled at the defense the Steelers got several sacks in this game against Carson Wentz, who, of course, is playing backup as J.J. McCarthy's out for the Minnesota Vikings. Again, it was a good defensive effort by the Pittsburgh Steelers and pretty good offensive effort as well. You had the Bills beat the Saints in actually a pretty decent game. Actually, it's a pretty close game between New Orleans and the Bills. Even though New Orleans technically, at least in terms of their records, not a good team. They haven't really been able to come up with too many victories, or hardly any victories, really. Hardly anything. Largely lost games, but they've been able to kind of remain competitive in games. And they were competitive in this game. It was a surprisingly good game for the New Orleans Saints, but they lost to the Buffalo Bills. The Giants decided to take out Russell Wilson, put in Jackson Dart, and they won against the LA Chargers in a close game. I think in this game, when you look at what happened with the Chargers and the Giants basically ran out of time. They were heading down the field. They were trying to make probably a play for either a field goal, probably a field goal. I don't think so much a touchdown, but they really ran out of time. But what was effective was, everybody, I'm sure people talked about Jackson Dart and how at least good he was in this game, and he was good. He ran in for a touchdown, at least one of his accomplishments in that game. But I think it was the defense of the Giants that was important, because they woke up and they were putting pressure on Justin Herbert. And I think that's real important in regards to the Chargers, because the Chargers' offensive line, to me, was an issue when they went to the playoffs, because their offensive line collapsed. And that's why they lost that playoff game. I think people were really surprised, but what I saw was an offensive line that just really couldn't handle the pressure that was coming at them. And I think here what the Giants were able to do was they were able to pass rush effectively against Justin Herbert, put pressure on him. Wasn't necessarily sacks, was getting him to make throws and to limit effective plays for the LA Chargers. So I think it was the defense that really won that game for the New York Giants against the LA Chargers. You had a really good game. The Eagles playing the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have won close game after close game, but they weren't able to eke it out there. They just weren't able to beat the Eagles. And the Eagles, for the first time, their offense really came online. Their offense was really effective here. They're able not only to score points, they're able to at least maintain a bit of a lead. And they're able to, again, somewhat eke by. I mean, it was a few points, but somewhat eke by against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are a team to look out for this year. You look at Baker Mayfield. You look at Baker Mayfield, and this guy is playing not like an MVP, because this is what everybody talks about, but as if he's playing like he could go to the Super Bowl. I'm saying he's playing like a Super Bowl MVP. I mean, sorry, could be MVP in the Super Bowl, but he's playing like a Super Bowl player, like a Super Bowl quarterback, and that's what I'm saying about him. I mean, this guy. The Buccaneers have lost some players. They don't have all their big playmakers, but their rookie, I think Okonkwo, has been able to just produce really effectively for Tampa Bay. This team has stepped up. And of course, Baker Mayfield has stepped up. He's basically a huge reason why they've won. And he's been able to get down the field. I mean, if you look at that game against the Jets previously, in previous weeks, the Jets might have had that game. They might have been able to win, but Baker Mayfield, he's able to get the Buccaneers down the field and get those points and to beat the Jets. And the Jets, of course, winless. Horrible year for the Jets. But the Buccaneers, it was a really tough game for them. They lost this game, but they've been able to make do with their squad, and their squad has been able to produce. And the Buccaneers are one of the most impressive teams I've seen this year. They're a team to look out for, definitely. I've been telling people, look out for Tampa Bay. You had the Dolphins beat the Jets in, I think, a game that the Jets should have won. Again, speaking of the Jets, they should have won this game. And the Dolphins were able to produce enough points. And again, I think the Dolphins, they've been able to play fairly well this year, but they haven't really been able to win games. They haven't been able to put it together. They haven't really been able to win games. Someone in the chat saying, look out for the 49ers. Actually, 49ers have done well. They lost to the Jaguars. That was a bit of an upset in week 4. But actually, the 49ers are doing better than I expected this year because they're always dealing with some injuries and injuries to their playmakers. That's the thing I know about the 49ers. It's always some of their stars. It's not just their mid-level caliber players. So that's really interesting. And horrendous and a brutal loss for the Raiders. I mean, they played despite Geno Smith having interceptions galore in this game, they actually got close and they had a chance to possibly win this game. And they had a blocked field goal from the Bears. And the Bears were able to hang on and win this game, close game against the Las Vegas Raiders. And probably, again, when I talk about great games, this was a great game, although the outcome, not so great. In fact, not great at all. The Packers played the Cowboys in easily one of the best games of the year. Another great game at AT&T Stadium. And I don't know what it is about playing at home. Dallas has played well when they haven't been at home, with the exception of the game against Chicago. But they played terrific here both times, both against the Giants and here against the Packers. The Packers defense gave up 40 points to the Cowboys. That's surprising because this is a team that reduced their opponents early on, which were the Lions and Commanders. Two really good teams with two good offenses, to less than 20 points. And they gave up 40 points to Dallas. Dallas offense is really something. Great game, but it was the first tie in at least a few years in the NFL. Like I said, lackluster finish. And that's been it for this edition of the Wiseguy Show. You can hear me on the Writer Report, which is at mixlr.com. That's mixlr.com. I do the NFL Hot Topics segment on Mondays, so you can check that out. And until next time, this has been the Wiseguy Show, the show that gets you wise as to what's happening in the NFL right here on YouTube. Bye for now.